people find out their type and they're like, oh, that's what I've been doing. It's just this pattern, like over and over and over again. Like I'm a machine. And your unconscious is the thing that is kind of behind the machine. So dreams are a way to open up that dialogue and understanding the basically unconscious motives and desires and beliefs, whatever, that your type and the ego is just constantly ignoring. Because to face it and to understand it is to transform it.
The big hormone Enneagram.
I'm John Malkovich, 415, sexual self-pres, 458 trifix.
I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual, 9 with 1 wing, 974 trifix.
What up, it's Emeka. I'm an 8-wing 7, sexual self-pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I'm a 3-wing 4, self-pres social, a 369 trifix.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a social self-preservation 9-wing 1, 963 trifix.
If you like or hate us, make sure you go like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and make sure you leave us a review.
Kristen, you come on here to spread joy and positivity.
Shine podcast.
9. Hop in.
Yay.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm here to talk about dreams and stuff.
Well, we should do intros before we launch into this.
I listened to the one that just came out and listened to I wasn't expecting my intro to be on it already. And I was listening to all 4 of you. You're like, what up? I'm Emeka. This is da 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 da. Hi, it's David. Da 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 da. And then my voice comes on, and I'm like,
You're
hi,
like
I'm
smiling.
Alexandra. Yeah.
That was the funniest part.
I feel like extra smiley for it too.
So social in it, yeah. Wow, spot the social type.
You sound like you're beaming. I'm like, God damn, why are you so happy?
Sunshine came through the mic. Just burst through.
Yeah, I listened to it while I was walking by myself to breakfast, and I was like, oh God. Oh no.
Alexandra.
Too eager, too welcoming.
How uncool.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be aloof. You don't give a fuck.
Yeah. So yeah, very excited to re-record.
Yeah.
All
Don't
right.
forget your plugs, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody remember your fucking plugs.
Especially Alexandra and her astrology plug.
Right.
Yes, Alexandra needs to remember her astrology plug for the website she's building and the services she'll be offering very soon. When she
hate
gets
you
to it
guys.
at her own pace from her own choice.
Starting tomorrow.
That everybody's also very excited for, but really doesn't even care if it happens either way. So, Alexander, who blends the Enneagram and astrology together like no one else does, and has a real mastery over the topic.
9 integration services.
Yeah, that everybody's very, very excited about and does not care and is just totally patient for. So
there's no hurry.
no hurry at all.
There is
No
a
pressure whatsoever.
It's not like there's not like a waiting list of people waiting for Alexandra's wisdom. It's not like that at all.
It's not like
It's
that.
my secret line to 3 narcissism that's just want to keep everybody waiting.
So there's that. Then there's, obviously my book. And please buy it. And if you have bought it, please review it. Talked last time about getting some hate reviews. So I had a spite for the mistype or for retyping people certain types. And so, anything counts. Anything's good.
Whoa. Is that you, David?
That was me.
Okay.
Pardon me. Bodily functions.
The gut type over here making noises.
Josh and I have a new Enneagram school called the EnneagramSchool.com. And we're doing formal, Enneagram education. We've got a course going right now. We got more on the way. It's going well. Check it out. And then finally got a study group that meets on Sundays to go section by section of my book. You can find recordings on my website. You can get all 3 of the first chapters for $175, and that's 18 hours of content. And I think that's it for now.
All right. DAA, Dark Arts Academy. We're gaining an experiential fluency with the Enneagram to the practice of typing. You like that?
Nice.
Like that little blast for you.
That was nice.
A little punctuated.
Impressive.
Ooh.
Did you write that down?
Someone's been working
I've been
with
working on it for
prototype.
months. You know, I've been thinking about how
Okay.
do you put together what we're doing in a way that's concise and clear. So we did a class recently about fashion and instinct stacking, which was pretty interesting. Looking at all the different ways that shows up in high fashion. And then we recently did a class on John Malkovich, which is a hard typing, also very rare typing. So we'll see how many of y'all, probably none of y'all, are going to guess that type correctly. And then the next class we're doing is going to be on 7. We recently had realizations about frustration. But yeah, we've become intimately aware of the intensity of frustration and sort of like also realizing how many 9s that we've missed. It seems to be like the really toughest thing in typing is learning all the different ways that 9s are hiding from us in plain sight. And so there was a big typing update for 7 and 9, and we're going to do a class on that coming up soon. Get more information at enneagrammer.com if you want to get typed by us. Get clarity on your typing, enneagrammer.com/get typed.
Also, Trifix booklet is on enneagrammer.com, and Kristen and I are doing a revamp ever so slowly, as 2 9s would do. We're going to be featuring her paintings for the Trifixes and some more descriptive language. So look for that, hopefully in less than a year.
Look, painting takes a
Listen.
while.
Yeah. It's going to be slow. The product is going to be great.
Are we talking a calendar year or straight up 365
Well, yeah,
days?
maybe-
'Cause
Maybe the fiscal year for the podcast.
I don't even know if
or the
I
Chinese New Year. It's just
Just
All
a
right.
general impression of a year.
And we got Kristen.
Go ahead.
Unless there's more you got to say, David.
No, I was just going to talk about expected in a vague year.
In a vague
Mhm.
year. Yeah,
Vaguely a year from now.
vague
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9s live in vague years. That's 2024. Might be actually 5 solar years.
Right.
But it's vague years. So we got Kristen Oberly here. Welcome, our dreamlord.
Lord.
And I want you to introduce yourself, but we're talking about plugs. Are there any things you want to introduce yourself with in addition plug while you're doing that?
Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
Time to shine.
Yay. I recently added on my website, which is inkstoryrebel.com, where you can actually go see the Enneagram Trifix illustrations and their little descriptions and stuff. I also added dream services on there. So if anybody likes this conversation and is interested in dream work, like a lot of people I talk to will randomly remember one that they've been like sitting on for quite a long time. So it doesn't have to be a current dream or whatever. There's some options on there to work with your dream with me.
Excellent.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yay.
So I guess to get into it, we met Kristen at the Zone. We've known her online already, but we got to know you at the Zone. Had y'all know her before the Zone?
No, just I think just in a group.
Yeah,
Okay.
my introduction to Kristen was when she named all the flowers after us.
Oh yeah, you did
Right.
that.
Kristen's
Good
the
info.
best. I'm a red flower.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
That's right. If you also name your plant friends after us, you can ingratiate yourself on the podcast.
Oh,
Yeah,
she
I
also had
snuck
that.
in.
She also
And
had
then-
that very funny, like, it was John, maybe you'll remember. It was like a podcast review thing that were talking about, like, me and my plants listen to the podcast. I don't
yeah.
know. It was very funny.
Oh, yeah. That was good.
And then you made those Trifix illustrations with that went viral across forums everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know it did that.
Yeah, it did.
surprise.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is going somewhere.
Yeah, no, they're very cool.
Yeah, they're really good.
Thank you.
And so then, at the Zone, I remember it was Emeka's birthday. I went outside and you were spitting dreams. And so I don't know if you want to. How did you get into dreams?
Okay, well, I think so. Basically, I guess how I'd want to start this story is that
Wow, she's just ghosting us.
Yeah, just when it's her time, when it's her time to shine, she
How
disappears.
convenient.
I know,
Going
right?
into the 9 cloud.
All right. Are we good?
Yes. Are you good?
Sounds
That's
good.
the question. Are
Are
you good?
I slightly panicked, but I'm okay now. I'm just sitting on the floor and grounding myself again.
I don't think we've ever had a guest that wasn't slightly panicked, so join the ranks.
Yeah. Yay. Okay. Who am I? Am I doing
You're
that?
Kristen.
Good start.
Tell us about how you started dreaming.
Well, I guess
Okay.
even before that, for context, Kristen is a social self-pres 9 with a 1 wing, and she has a 6 fix and a 3 fix. So she's another Bermuda channeler, and this is her dreams are her medium.
Mhm.
Are you two the exact same with the wings on the fixes and everything, right?
No.
We have different
No.
wings on the
Okay.
fixes,
Got it.
but we're close enough.
Kristen is the nicer version.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Definitely.
I was gonna say
More
Alexandra's the cooler one.
I don't know about that.
Kristen's
Cooler
more
is not the
likable.
word I would be using.
No one asked
But-
you, Emeka.
As you can tell by her intro on the podcast.
God, yeah, whatever. Bermudas are all dorks anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Dreaming. Got it.
Ready?
Um,
Go.
All right. Yeah. So, anyway, I was thinking, basically I started, writing down my dreams like back in middle school. So I've been tracking them for quite a long time, but it's only been within the last 2 or probably less than 2 years that I have been like every day trying to understand and interpret them. I had an event happen that basically I stopped dreaming for like maybe like 3 or 4 years. And then something kind of shifted in my psyche, and I had a really big dream that I remembered, and it sparked my interest enough to be curious. Simultaneously started listening to this podcast, so it might be an effect or not. I don't know. And yeah, I know. And so it basically like made me start wondering, does that mean something? Because it had a lot to do with what I was going through at the time. And it had a lot of like archetypal imagery that I started questioning. And then slowly I kind of fell down this rabbit hole of understanding dream imagery and symbols and the effects that they have on people.
So did you completely stop dreaming for 3 to 4 years, or at least stop remembering them?
Yeah, like I think I still had them. I wrote like a few every so often down, but they were very just kind of simple. And even though simple dreams are important too, but like I never paid them any much mind until I had this really big one that made me go, wait a minute, like, what is that?
So why did you start writing your dreams down in middle school?
Well, despite being a social type, I wasn't a very social kid growing up. I spent, a lot of time in my room drawing and stuff, and I did a lot of journaling. So it's actually kind of cool because I get to look back and see what was going on in my head during those times. But I guess I just had these really vivid dreams and thought, yeah, I'm just going to write them down, and then totally ignore anything that they would mean. But now I can see it.
And what started your sense of like interpreting? Like what started getting you on that route?
When I had this big dream a year ago, I was working, well, I am still working at a greenhouse, and like I'm, also being a social type, I like started talking to my friends about, like my coworkers about it. And I was like, yeah, I had this really weird dream last night, and I started talking about it, and I guess kind of like started thinking, wait a minute, like as I'm talking, I started figuring out like this is hitting something inside of me that like I didn't think would come up while I'm talking about it. So it kind of started getting me to think like there's something more to dreams. And then talking to my roommate, she mentioned about Carl Jung doing dream interpretations, and I just fell into it.
And so as a dream warrior, what what is a dream? to you?
Oh God. This is what's very hard to explain because there's so many aspects to it, and you can't pin it down. So I think kind of everyone got a taste with the Divine Feminine podcasts of things being very spiralic in a way. And I believe that dreams and working with your dreams are like that. Like you never land quite on just one interpretation or one method of what to do about the dream or something. It's like you just have to let it constantly unfold into something that, I mean, the biggest point is for it to shift something in the psyche. Like we're stuck. So you think of the Enneagram and people find out their type and they're like, oh, that's what I've been doing. It's just this pattern like over and over and over again. Like I'm a machine. And your unconscious is the thing that is kind of behind the machine. So dreams are a way to open up that dialogue and understanding the basically unconscious motives and desires and beliefs, whatever, that your type and the ego is just constantly ignoring. Because to face it and to understand it is to transform it. And that's scary.
So kind of, this is almost like the same question, but asking it to see where it goes. But so when we kind of think about being human or what it means to be human, we take, generally speaking, people take a view of an awake human being in the sense of like a day, the thing a human being does during its day, right? But then you got this, at least a third of your 24 hours are spent encountering something on this other level. And so like if we take take a view of the whole lifespan of a human being that spent a third of it is in this psychic soup, like what do you think like what do you either think like the psyche is from this point of view, or like it's that it's doing? Why is there this language that the psyche uses of dreams to communicate between these two aspects of ourselves?
The way that I see it, and again, it's very hard because you could look at it many different aspects, but basically it's if you want to compare it to like essence, like why do we do Enneagram work in the first place? You know, like you're trying to basically understand that the ego isn't all that there is. It's kind of like, you know, Jungians might call it like the transcendent function. Like we're always trying to we're as humans, we're pulled towards something transcendent. And so it's to kind of break down those patterns and habits that keep us fixed and unable to like transform. So I think, you know, there's kind of an interesting way to look at it that within everybody is a God. And like the Jungians will probably call it the self, like you can encounter the self. And really like knowing and understanding and admitting that you have this God within you is to kind of push the ego off of a pedestal and know that like the ego isn't everything and, you know, all encompassing, that there's something else. And that's what like a lot of religion is meant to do. It's what a lot of the spiritual stuff is meant to do. It's just admitting that there's something else, because if you don't have that kind of transcendent function, like it can come out in very terrible ways if you don't have some kind of dialogue or relationship with it.
It's you know, I feel like our culture has a lack of transcendent function acknowledgement. Do you find that there is some kind of like consistent thematic like dream urgency or something, or you know, images or things that come up in relation to a kind of a mass absence of the transcendent?
Yeah, I think it can come out in a lot of different ways. Like, you know, if you look into Jungian concepts and stuff, there's a lot of like collective projecting, because people are ignoring this kind of aspect of themselves. so it's mainly and two, it affects then your relationship with everybody that you're with. It's like there's no aspect of initiation anymore in life, and so we're just perpetually living as children.
Wow.
And so however that comes up, it's dreams are a way that can help you understand that, and to help like start to differentiate between, you know, what you're projecting, what your like your partner or your friends or just random people, however you're associating with them. It helps you associate with them more authentically. Like, so that, you know, individually is happening at a, you know, collective scale too. When this stuff is not regarded as useful or anything.
Keeps coming up for me is, it's so stupid, but the movie Dune. You know, I know, you know, and like the opening line is like, dreams are messages from the deep. Like that's like the title card right before it. And then, you know, you're talking about like collective projection as a way to kind of try to integrate something. And I just find like, you know, that, you know, the United States is constantly like at war with the Middle East. And yet in that story, the Middle East aesthetic represents this doorway into the spice, you know, into the transformative agent. So anyway, just kind of cool. But I was curious, like, so there's a couple questions I want to ask, and I know we're going kind of big, and then I want to get more specific about like actual dreams. But all right, so people who are interested in the Enneagram, what can dreams either bring to that, or what is the Enneagram missing without this kind of dream work? And like, is there a connection to the Enneagram and dream work or not?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that. I've been definitely seeing because I've talked to a lot of people about their dreams, and knowing their types and especially instincts come up in dreams like in a very, very nuanced way. Like Enneagram gives you, you know, the equation, like, okay, so you're this type, so you'll experience these kinds of things. And people can like plug it in and be like, okay, yeah, I know where that fits and where that doesn't and whatever. And same with instincts, like, okay, this is what I mean and this is collectively what it does. But with your dreams, it like really hits on where exactly those instincts are playing out, how they are like affecting you either emotionally, mentally, whatever. And with your type as well, like I know for me, I kind of find it fun that I have specific people that come up in my dreams that are almost like types of my fixes. So it's like, oh, I know that person's a 3 and they've come up in my dream. I'm wondering if this is commenting on like my 3 fix because I'm projecting that into them. Yeah. So I've found like, especially instincts, because, you know, I'm social. And when I first started dreaming like regularly, because I dream every day now, when I first started dreaming regularly, it was just people in my dreams, like so many people. And I'm going to graduations and parties and stuff, and I'm like, why do I keep having so many people? And to like realize, my cats are fighting, sorry, and to realize that like as also triple attachment, how much I've split off of myself and put it into other people socially is like, wow, okay. Once I realized that, I stopped having so many dreams of people in it.
Very interesting.
Can you give an example of how exactly that has shown up? Or, yeah, just like how the splitting off of self and putting that onto other people and how that has like been reflected in dreams? It doesn't have to be like specific, obviously, but.
Well, yeah, I think it's kind of like I said, there was just a lot of like people from when I was in like elementary school and middle school and stuff coming up, like people I don't even think about. And so it made me have to really question, like, what part of this person did I like project onto, or did I like not, like they have a trait that I haven't claimed. And that trait, once I kind of understand it, is like, oh, like I have that in me. I'm completely capable of what I thought they were doing and stuff like that. So it if that helped or answered your question.
That's great.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
What does it mean
Yeah.
if your girlfriend has a dream about you with somebody else and gets mad at you for a whole day?
God.
I knew this was gonna come up.
Okay, all right, we're going.
John, you cheated on me in, your dream, in my dream.
I'm
we
sure of
can
it.
definitely break that down, actually, because I find that extremely interesting.
I would love to
I
hear
guess
more
I have
about
no
that.
choice.
I hate
You
those.
guess?
I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and be like, Brian.
Well,
Yeah, no, I've definitely woken up quiet before, and he wakes up, and I'm just like, hey.
No, it's there's a tension.
You want to tell me something? Who is she?
Yeah.
I also would love to know what the dreams where you have sex with your friends that you are not at all attracted to. What's up with that? What's up with that bullshit? Because I hate that shit.
Well, geez. Okay, so here's the other thing. I'm going to preface this with
Yeah,
dreamwork. Because I don't know how many people will listen to this and want to be like, I'm going to post all my dreams on, public Facebook and stuff.
Oh,
like,
geez.
just know
yeah,
that
no.
when you do say a dream, like, you are extremely naked. It's like, it's like talking, like, when you're drunk or something and you just start spewing out the stuff you really didn't want to say. Like, that is what, like, relaying a dream to someone is kind of like.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was going to say with the whole, at least, aspect of waking up and the partner's cheating on you or whatever, that every person, sorry, whatever it is,
Man, I'm sorry.
Not that it's applicable.
like, every person and object in a dream is an aspect of yourself. So when you have a dream like that, there is a part of you that is cheating on yourself. There is a part of, no, not on your partner. That's what John said.
Like,
Say,
Kristen,
Alexandra.
Please, the other room.
No,
Table.
Like,
Guilty.
it's that, like, need for thrill, that need for kind of like the chase or something like that. It's there's some kind of aspect of you that is your partner committing this act
You
or
mean
whatever.
there's
so.
a thrill to sex?
Yes.
I didn't
Since when?
I'm still
Yeah,
getting in
so-
touch with that whole part of myself.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you
Okay.
are.
Would you say that could be like those kind of dreams would be an outsourcing of the sexual instinct? In my case, because I'm sexual blind, or
yeah,
is it like?
well,
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
it's a lot more complicated than just outsourcing. Like, some things you can kind of immediately be like, okay, I see that's outsourcing. Like, you're relying on them to do something in the dream or
Mhm.
something. That's like, okay, like, that's actual outsourcing. But other things get a little bit more complex. I think you would really have to go into, like, the feelings of the dream and where it's trying to lead you.
Okay. Phew.
Got through that part.
And so, we have on the call, for example, a very practical person who, is very no nonsense, and now he's having psychic dreams.
Yes.
yes.
What do you?
This will be explaining some of the dreams I've had would be interesting for some of the listeners.
Yeah, what do you make of the psychic function of dreaming and like this seemingly like not bound to linear time aspect that we've been seeing in Emeka?
I think there's a lot there.
He's the Muhad'Dib.
Yeah, like, again, I don't think you can necessarily pin it down just to one thing. Like, oh, you're psychic now, so now every dream you have is going to be predicting something. I think you have to be careful with that, because that's just another, like, one of the things I'd want to say is, like, dreams also shouldn't be used as, like, just a tool for the ego again,
No?
if that makes sense. No.
Yeah.
You said we had a god within us. So
I know, right?
How am I not supposed to attach?
Yeah,
my
eights
ego
are
to
just
that?
immediately like.
Right.
Yeah, I'm God.
Trying to tell people when they're going to die. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's
Right.
God right there.
Right. Yeah, we have to be careful with that. Because then it's still like the ego's more important than that God thing. Like, the God inside you is trying to kind of push you back into your place, and it will one way or another.
Mhm.
So with psychic dreams, I think it's not just, I think, like, if anyone has any, to interpret them in a way that, okay, if this is a psychic dream, then maybe it is trying to just prepare you, like it's something emotionally overwhelming that it's kind of trying to ease you into it rather than just like smacking you with it. And you also should be interpreting it in a symbolic way. Like, okay, what does this, disregarding this just predicted something, symbolically, what could this mean? So doing both. But there has been studies of psychic dreams and how it connects everyone in a way. Like there's this, it's like with Jung's idea of the collective unconscious, that there is just an underlying kind of current of connection between everybody, and it's been proven with these kinds of dreams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to go into some of them, but I'll
go into it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let the god go first.
The psychic god.
Well, I mean, I've already mentioned on the end of the year pod that my dad passed away, and recently, before that happened, a couple of weeks before, I started having frequent dreams where I was in the middle of a lot of family, like stuck in a house with a lot of family I haven't seen before. There was a sister of mine that I haven't hung out with in 5 years that showed up multiple times in that dream. And then the day before he died, I had a dream where he was next to me, and my dad doesn't show up in my dreams hardly ever. And he was jogging next to me, and I don't jog, but he does. He jogs every day. And the next day, he was found collapsed on a treadmill. He was jogging. And what ended up happening because of that event, a whole bunch of family came into town, including the sister I hadn't seen in 5 years. Now we're all hanging out. So the sort of like scenario that I was experiencing in my dream, multiple dreams with family dynamics. I don't really dream about family dynamics that much, but it all happened. There was a specific dream that I had where the whole family was under fire with like missiles and stuff. And yesterday, my mom used the exact phrase that she was experiencing all these missiles coming from different family members because of all the family drama around planning this, funeral and everything. So, I mean, this has just been a reoccurring pattern for me. And I think one way I've been of psychic dreams, and one way I've been interpreting it is it might be sort of like sometimes it's things that I've already processed, but I've forgotten, like connecting the dots, where it seems predictive, but it's kind of like, this is where things are going to go. And you've maybe thought about this, but this is a reminder of how things are going to go. But a lot of times with these cases, like it was too specific for me to, it couldn't have come from anything that my unconscious was putting together from memory. It was like specific scenarios that were predicted that I couldn't have seen coming. So in a way, like what you're saying, just sort of preparing you for the stressful and really stressful event of the last month or so.
Mm-hmm.
And have you been, like, now that you've had the funeral, has your dreams changed? Or
yeah. I mean, I'm not dreaming about family events anymore because it's like I guess because I'm living it. The thing has actually happened. So it's just moved. Generally, my dreams are situated with some living situation and mostly people I don't know. But for like a month, I was dreaming about family members and being stuck in a house full of family. And now that's actually happening. So I don't need to dream about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, even to just tracking your dreams throughout your life is very, like, surreal sometimes. Like, when I look at mine, because I have them since like 5th grade or whatever, there were a lot of like really, really big, just like potent dreams I've had that when I looked back into my journals when I had them, it was like big life events were happening at that time. So it's just that kind of like, it's, to me, it's like there's no, like, it's not just coincidence that you're having dreams that are so profoundly impactful during times when, something big is either going to happen or is happening in your life.
I tried to remember dreams, and like before I went to bed, like intended to dream this week, and all my dreams were like pretty boring and pathetic. But but
Those are the
they
best ones. so.
Same.
it did involve. Now that I'm thinking about it, one of them was like I got captured by some kind of like guerrilla army or like squadron, and then taken to some kind of like resort that I couldn't get out of.
Oh God.
And then last night I was in a dream where I was stuck at some hotel, like wanting to go to the airport, but it was like one of those things where it was like, do I have to pay for another night? And it was like this whole dumbass thing, and there was like something about going to the airport, and then like it didn't work out, and like just stuck at like an ugly hotel.
Well, I'm gonna say too, like the most boring dreams can sometimes be like packed full of really good information, because kind of going back to when you asked about like dreams and symbols, like why do they show us these symbols, like why do we even like have this imagery going on? And one of the things that the unconscious is playing as kind of a role in the background in your waking life is that it's collecting these impressions of objects and people and situations. And it's something that, you do need your ego, obviously, but it's being filtered kind of. So when you're dreaming, you look at things extremely objectively, because the unconscious is also looking at them objectively and looking at them as a symbolic impression. So like when you think of, I'm walking upstairs in a dream, like stairs objectively is taking you from one perception, like one level, and transforming you to another. Like you have to put in the work to walk upstairs, and it changes your perspective. So it's just like simple stuff like that. Looking at objects in dreams that way, it makes the most boring dreams into like the most kind of exciting and rich ones.
It's also, isn't it like a counter, let's say, type 4 thing, right? That the mundane you're going to discount, you know what I mean? And so in some sense, you might, as a 4 or a 4 fixer, you might have some mundane dreams to connect you into some maybe even common themes that people have in general. Whereas you're going to discount that when you've got 4.
Yes, because my roommate also has a 4 fix, and she comes to me with like the most boring dreams with like, doing laundry or eating sandwiches, or like kids are trying to steal her tacos or something. And it's just, but when we actually sit, like those dreams, talking about them will turn into like a 4-hour conversation. Right. Because it's like, oh, wow, there's so many other elements to a washing machine or to, a sandwich, that it's like an alchemical process and, a cleansing thing. It's just like all these different symbols it's meant to connect differently and shift your perception on things.
So do you think recurring dreams have like what's your opinion on recurring dreams? Because I'm asking out of a selfish point of view, because I have several recurring dreams and they've played through my entire life. So I'm just, do they hold the same meaning, or do they mean different things every time? Like what's up with that?
I love recurring dreams. Anytime I tell people that I'm into dreams, they always bring me a reoccurrent one. So basically like reoccurring dreams, or even just dream imagery, because I often have it where like, the same person or the same animal,
the same
or
item, or
right. So the unconscious, like I've said before, it's trying to get you to shift, your perception on something. It's trying to transform your idea of one thing that is remaining stuck in a way. And so a reoccurring dream is remaining stuck. Like you're not changing your association with this, whatever it's trying to reference. So I've heard reoccurring dreams often come up when like, if someone had a very stressful event and then they experience this stress throughout life and this dream comes up, it's trying to get you to reassociate with the imagery in the dream, because the imagery can help link the ego to the things that it really needs to be feeling, or it needs to be processing about this situation or association or event or something, if that makes sense. So dream symbols, also reoccurring, kind of show that you keep associating with that thing the same way over and over and over again, and it's trying to get you to change it. It's trying to get you to keep asking questions. Like I had my several family members just keep coming up in my dream. And I'm like, I feel like I thought of literally everything I could possibly think of that I've projected into these family members.
Wow.
And then finally, I think it was like one day I just had this realization that I like ended up in tears over, you know, something that I didn't think of before, and I haven't dreamt of them since. So
Wow.
yeah, you can
Interesting.
track that easily. Like it takes time, but that's kind of what it's meant to. Like your ego is very small and limiting, and so to try and understand like what is the unconscious trying to get me to see or feel, especially feeling. Like there's no point in interpreting a dream unless you shift a feeling of some kind.
So this is
Interesting.
more of a personal. This is bringing it personal, I guess. How do you
Dreams
feel?
aren't personal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you specifically.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
Me?
I guess like, how do you? Oh God, I think I just lost my question. No, I didn't. How do you, as a 9, feel like? I guess like, how do you stay grounded as a 9 if there's so much to be interpreted? How are you finding like your solidity in your interpretation and like your channeling in something that is very fluid? And it sounds like a very intuitive kind of medium to have to tap into. So that's one question. And then the other one is, how has this helped you as a 9, specifically as a triple attachment?
Yeah, I think like honestly, it's probably some of the most important work I've done, like inner work, you know, because I think let me try and remember all of your question. Hold on.
Well, the first one is, how do you stay grounded with something so interpretive?
Right. So when I first started doing interpretations, I really wanted to go like super social self-pres all over it, and I was just like referring to symbols books like way too much. Not the kind of like dream symbol like fixed meaning books, but like just in general like more kind of archetypal, you know, concepts of symbols and stuff. And I started to realize like, as much as that's fun and interesting to be like, oh, I had a bear in my dream, which means I'm like super tough or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do anything. So I felt like I was kind of going nowhere with these dreams. But once I started looking at the personal associations with the symbols and stuff in your dreams, and started to realize how important emotional tones and like relations and associations were in dreams, is when I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. And so it's made me as a triple attachment have to really look at like where I was projecting, especially being social self-pres, like where I'm trying to separate myself, like all basically. I think it has given me a better idea of like who I actually am than the things that I thought or was trying to be, I guess.
Yeah. It sounds like it's been good for trusting your own location, or at least being able to locate to begin with.
Right.
And then be building off of that.
Yeah, I've known too, like dreams for 6s or 6 fixers is fantastic because you have to trust yourself. Like you have, you know, it is meant to be a personal map or guidance in dealing with things. So it's like you're only relying on the information coming from your dreams. So it's like, oh wow, I just have little conversations with myself like, oh, is that what that means?
Well, how would you, people wanting to relate more to their dreams, like, should we just go out and buy all the fucking little dream guidebooks, or like what's the way to cultivate or to dream more, or to be more aware of your dreams, and then to cultivate that?
Yeah, don't go out and buy those books.
Just Google it instead.
Yeah.
What does a bear mean?
Yeah, I think so some of the things to remember, like your unconscious, it's sort of a trickster as well. So I know for me at least, like if my mind is like way too busy and it's putting like way too much importance on ego and stuff, I like will stop dreaming for like a night or two. And it's so it's kind of a way to be, you know, center yourself in a way that I think talking about them and writing them down is a big thing. I think before you even go to bed is having some kind of ritual where you're signaling to the unconscious, like, oh, I'm, ready for a dream, like ready to talk to you kind of thing, whatever that may look like. For me, it's just kind of, I've given the advice of when you have your eyes closed, like pretend that you're walking downstairs and it's like that descension into the unconscious and it's telling it like, hey, I'm meeting you,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that works for me every time. Because also too, like you can ask questions to it, whether it answers it or not. Like that's a whole other thing. But there was like in different cultures, they had like you think of the temples of Asclepius or whatever, where people would go and ask for a dream and pray for a dream for some kind of like ailment or whatever. Like you're able to do that. I've known lots of people who have had their dreams tell them to kind of get their health shit together, and it's worked. So having that kind of relationship to it, like you want to have a relationship with it in the first place, I think is really important. And then once you even just get like a fragment, if it's a color or a sound or anything, just write it down. Even write down no dream if you don't have a dream. Just being persistent with it. Because if you lose that persistence, then it kind of, like I think of it as some kind of entity that's like, oh, you don't want to talk to me, kind of. So doing that, writing them down, talking about it, but definitely talking about it to people that you trust, because I've noticed that, people want to get really excited about dream work, but then they say a dream and then someone interprets it in a certain way they don't like, and then it's like, ooh, yeah, it's ugly work. It can be very ugly because it hits a lot of personal wounds, I think. Yeah, really, really does. So I would say, if you do talk about them or you post them online or something, to have a group of people that you trust to do that with, because posting it just for everyone to see is at least for my 6 fix is like, no, don't do that.
You mentioned the trickster there.
Yeah.
What did you say? The unconscious is a trickster or something like that?
Oh, absolutely.
So can you talk about that for a little bit? Because Jung always cites the trickster as really the essential agent for change, transformation, growth, etc. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Basically, like, kind of going back to my idea of that, well, not my idea, but the idea of everyone kind of has their own inner God. The self, in Jungian terms, its main kind of function was to cause tension. Like a lot of tension with the ego. Like, what are you going to do about this? How are you going to change this? So there's, there are different ways that trickster kind of energy comes up in dreams. I've noticed that when I'm like writing something down, it could just be a word. Like, there's some kind of, thing that has to do with temperature in my dream, and the word temper. I'm like, oh, right. Like it can come up like that, or it can
that's
just
like the trickster tricking your tongue in the moment.
Right. Yeah. And then there's other, different symbols that really like you really have to kind of play with it. Like, I know for my roommate, and I have permission to talk about her, just to let everyone know, because her dreams are fascinating. She's self-pres sexual 794, so her unconscious is quite a trickster, because she tries, like, the ego part of her tries to get away with things, and the unconscious says, oh no you don't, like it's gonna it presents things to her in ways that challenge her, and I think that's a lot about dream work, is challenging you. So it could be in a very almost comedic way too. Like, I had recently, I kind of made the discovery that, like, appearing incredibly small in a dream or compared to someone else is like the unconscious trying to basically squish the ego back. Like, hey, you see how small you are? Like, you need to stay there. So it's very nuanced, and it depends. But I know, at least in my own personal experience and listening to other people's dreams, that is absolutely what it's doing.